The Old Call Report, and of course I'm your host Chuck Lee, and coming to you live from the beautiful downtown, what is it now, Fred? Is this a tire factory or a slaughterhouse?
Yeah.
Okay, and as usual, my rusty, trusty sidekick,
Yeah.
Fred, the true staffer. Glad to see you again, Fred.
Hello there, Chuck.
Glad to see you're
What's
back.
that funny thing you got in your head?
That's, well, you know, we try to wear different hats.
Yeah, I know you ought to try to wear without.
You know, Fred, you wear a lot of different hats in life, and so this is just one.
Yeah, I know, and you ought to get out of those wearing those hats.
This is just one of them, Freddie boy.
Yeah, I know.
So, well, as usual, Fred, boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about in this beautiful September.
Who won your...
September night. What is tonight? This is a September, what is this, Freddie boy?
Is it the 8th?
September 8th, 1963.
Yeah.
And within 2 months, John F. Kennedy was dead.
Yes.
It's amazing how time flies. Okay, Freddie. Tonight, we're going to talk about a lot, Fred. Of course, you know the governor's in town, and he wouldn't miss a show if he had to. He canceled all his other appointments just so he'd be back at the hotel to watch this show. We appreciate his long-time viewing of the show over the years. And, of course, we've had him on the show a couple times. And one of the most memorable interviews we had with him was one night we had him and a former governor together, Governor Warren Knowles, for a touching interview. And
yes.
Of course, the next morning Warren Knowles died.
Yes.
So it's the last.
That killed him, huh?
The last videotaped program was on the Old Cow Report of Governor Warren Knowles.
Yes.
And he did a lot of great things for this state. Well, Freddie, getting back to 1997, of course, this show has been going nonstop now, year after year, for 63 consecutive years. We started even before television.
Yeah, I know that.
And we're proud to say that we were the first TV show on the air.
Yeah.
and we like to keep it going, Fred. And
yes.
We want to welcome the 10,000 students that are watching tonight down at the university, and about the 1,500 kids at Memorial, and 14 or 1,500 up at North, and the other 20, 25,000 people that are tuned in tonight. We really do appreciate all of your viewing.
Gonna get your governor on there?
And of course, we're going to be taking phone calls tonight, and the number is 839-6261, and we have a few other addresses there quickly. http://members.tripod.com/tilde/Flavin/. You can skip the rest of it after Flavin. You don't need that. I think you just need the / and you'll get right to the Old Cow Report homepage, and there you'll read about Fred and Roy Rogers Hoff, and there's still some fragments of the old common man stuff on there. And then the email address is cows@discover-net.net. So don't forget those things. Of course, we're going to be taking calls tonight for any of you out there that are worried about this $40 million school board referendum boondoggle. And of course, you know we've sent in that special letter to the United Nations asking for special observers, neutral observers, to come in and observe that election to make sure it's not rigged, Fred.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be held on a Saturday, and there was rumors last time that they were printing up ballots up there at the old school board office there the day of the last election. So we're going to hopefully have those independent United Nations election observers come in, led by Jimmy Carter, to make sure this is a fair and above-board election, because you can't trust somebody that's in bed with that they're all in bed together, Fred, where there's
I know.
Where there's no competition, and the labor unions are in bed with the management, the administrators, and the whole works are working together in one big kitten caboodle boondoggle of the whole bunch of them, Freddie boy. And you got to watch that. And of course, that referendum is October 4th. And what's going on that weekend? Is that a hunting weekend or something where they're going to make sure they get everyone out of town?
I don't know. I think it's later, hunting.
Okay, and a lot of people will be out watching the fall leaves. And of course, it's on a weekend, Fred, and that's why they have weekday elections, because people are in town, they're working, they're coming and going, and it's their patriotic duty. But the school board knows full well that on a weekend, a lot of people are going to be out of town, and that's why they pull it off this way.
Yeah.
And that just shows how crooked and rotten they are. They're rotten to the core, and they're led by that sinister little liberation theologist that they call a superintendent. Well, Fred, we're going to stop this one just like we stopped that arena.
Are you going to call
the governor? Will call when he's ready, Fred.
Yes.
But we're going to have to stop this just like we stopped the arena right here. It's up to the old cow report and a few of the patriots out there in TV land that are going to be able to stop this $40 million sweetheart deal that they're trying to shove down our throats. And the only thing that socialists know how to do is to steal more money out of your back pocket, ladies and gentlemen. And if you vote yes on this thing, you're going to let them steal some more. And they say, oh, it's so wonderful. Oh, the state is going to give us 60% of the funding. And the local yokels, the local suckers are only going to have to pay 40% of it, which they say will be roughly on a $50,000 house, another $30 a year. They ran an ad in Sunday's paper. They didn't say how long you're going to have to pay that $30 a year. But on the other hand, that means that if it's going to cost you $30 for that, that's only 40% of the cost. The other 60% of the cost is going to be borne by the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And that comes right back to the same person that's paying the 40% on their real estate. They're the ones, the breadwinners, that are going to have to pay the other 60%.
Yes.
All they're doing is they're taking taking a roundabout way of stealing that money out of your billfold. They're not going to come right up and punch you in the nose like they do on this 40%. They're going to come up and punch you in the nose and knock you down and then take it out of your billfold. But they want you to be knocked out when they do it because they want you to think that it's coming from some money tree down there in Madison that grows on money down there. And that's where they think it's coming from, Fred. But it's coming right out of the taxpayers' pocket of the people of the state and right here of the Eau Claire area. It's just another big theft job. They're trying to build these big edifices of bricks and mortar. They don't need it, Fred. With the internet and computers and distant learning and telephones and television and two-way television and web TV and all that stuff, the school buildings that they're building today are obsolete right now, Fred.
Yes.
And they're going to be more obsolete when they get them built. And they're also not telling you that the price of building these, by the time that the vote is cast, to the time that they ring the first school bell, that is probably going to cost you another 5 to 10% in overruns and overcosts. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that they haven't put in here just for that reason, because they didn't want to go over the 40,000 figure.
Yes.
So we're taking calls tonight if anyone wants to chime in on that. I know there's some opposition to this bunch of hunyaks out there on this Yes Committee that think that this money is just coming out of the sky. And it's just a shame, Fred. We thought we had this whole school thing under control when the governor changed the way schools were funded down there, where the governor signed into law what the legislature had passed. But here they're coming right back at us just like good old socialists, wanting more and more and more like they always have, Fred. They never know when to quit.
Okay.
All right. Well, what's going on out there in TV land, Roy? Is we got everything hooked up and wired up? Sound? If it sounds like there's any picture or sound quality problems, let us know when you call in, and we'll be taking calls on the old cow phone, 839-6261. So just forget about that football game and come back home.
You know, the top of your hat is not visible in the.
It isn't. Well, that's Roy's fault, and that's, of course,
we're
speaking of Roy Rogers Hoff, the pyrotechnical engineer supreme. He's been with us for 39 years. Of course, he wasn't here when the show started, Fred, because he's only
38 years old.
Yeah,
right?
He's only about 40 years old. So he started as a child with the program, and he's grown in stature over the many years that we've been on. And of course, I suppose a few of you saw the old Common show before there, and Common, we just wish you'd get off the old Mars kick there. It was old 3 years ago, and it's still old. So come into the 20th century, Common. It's almost over. There's only a little over 2 years left. All right. Well, Fred, there's some pretty exciting things going on out there.
Yes.
And this one here comes from Christopher Ruddy, who broke the articles on Vince Foster murder. No one knows when Ken Starr's investigation of the Clintons in Whitewater will ever conclude. The investigation has gone on far too long, although one of the reasons for that is that the Clintons have stonewalled in providing information, apparently hoping to wear down the investigators. Some reporters, including Pittsburgh Tribune Review's Chris Ruddy think that nothing serious will ever come from the Starr investigation. That may be true, but former Arkansas State Trooper L.D. Brown has just thrown Starr a bombshell with which he may be forced to deal. Perhaps you remember L.D. Brown. He was a state trooper assigned to the security detail when Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas from 82 to 85. He said, following his unusual demotion in 1994, that he and Bill Clinton engaged in some carousing. He corroborated the story of other state troopers who claimed that they had arranged for and then covered up various trysts for Clinton before he moved to the White House. You see, L.D. Brown says that he has refused to bow to pressure from Clinton friends not to cooperate with the Whitewater investigation. He reportedly corroborated accounts by former Arkansas Judge David Hale that Clinton had pressured Hale into making an illegal loan for Susan McDougal, an assertion which the president has denied under oath. Well, anyway, according to Ruddy, L.D. Brown's attorney has sent a letter to Ken Starr saying that Brown wishes to provide you with sworn testimony that he has been approached by individuals with connections to the Clinton administration, offering him a large sum of money in order to influence his testimony about Mr. Clinton's illegal activities. Specifically, Brown says that on June 16th he was riding a public bus to London's Heathrow Airport when a man allegedly got out of a taxi on the road and flagged down the bus. He got on and sat down beside Brown and told him he would get $100,000 and a job in Moscow if he wouldn't testify against Clinton. Brown alleges he got a second offer after he returned to Little Rock. The Washington Times, in an editorial, suggested that this might make a sequel to the best-selling movie Primary Colors, or perhaps a made-for-television thriller. In fact, all of this sounds so preposterous it might just be true. We don't know what to think of L.D. Brown's credibility. The Clinton administration contends that he is a pathological liar who had failed a CIA background check. What was he doing working as Clinton's personal bodyguard for then, if he failed it? And he's a pathological liar. Does Clinton hire pathological liars to be his most personal protective bodyguards? I ask you, Freddie boy. In fact, state records show no such thing. But the Clinton people used that supposed information to try to get ABC News not to interview Brown. Various other sources in Little Rock, however, suggest that Brown may not always be a straight shooter. Still, at this stage, what would Brown gain by making up such a story? If he falsely accused someone of attempting a bribe, it would be a very serious matter. Surely his attorney would have told him that. Maybe Brown is just trying to stay alive. So many potential witnesses who might have been able to tell us the truth about the administration are no longer with us, Freddie boy. In other words, they're between 5 and 6 feet under.
Yes.
At this stage, Brown won't comment. His attorney will only confirm that he has sent a letter to Ken Starr. Starr, as usual, has no comment. It does seem, however, as bizarre as this incident may seem to be, that Starr is going to have to deal with it. If someone connected to Clinton is still trying to get L.D. Brown out of the way, then the public needs to know that. So there you have it, Fred, and that comes from, that was on Paul Weirich's program, NET Political News Talk Network. That's where that article came from. Okay, we better take a call here, Freddie boy, and see how the phones are working tonight. And go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah. First, I want to say hi to Fred. Good to
Hello there.
see you again.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, this is another common man. I heard that little remark you made earlier, and I tell you, I made that. I'll tell you, when I say that on the show, every word I say on there is true. By the way, by the way, Chuck, I got to say something about your hat. That's quite a hat you got there. Makes you look like a giant cucumber.
Well, thank you. I picked it out of your backyard. Okay, well, you know, they don't call him a communist for nothing. Okay, Freddie boy, what do you got there tonight?
Well, we got there. Homosexual student group wins IRS approval. The Internal Revenue Service has granted tax-exempt status to the gay and lesbian adolescent support system, GLASS of Greensboro, North Carolina, reversing a previous ruling that the organization is not worthy of such privileged status. According to a report, IRS admitted that it was wrong to demand that the gay and lesbian support group show its discouraged homosexual attitudes and propensities after the Lambda Legal and Educational Defense Fund in New York stepped in and wrote the IRS.
Okay, what's that mean in layman's terms?
Well, they're going to be doing it.
Doing what?
Well, they got a tax exemption.
They did.
Yeah,
I suppose it'd be on the Rosie O'Donnell show now.
maybe.
I guess she's as queer as a $3 bill. You know, Fred, she gives faggots a bad name.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Fred, how you doing tonight? You're looking good.
Thank you. Yes.
You're feeling good?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, you were with the governor's office?
Yeah, you betcha.
All right.
Chuck, how you doing?
I'm feeling just I'm just feeling like I'm on cloud nine.
Yeah, you look like you're on cloud nine, Chuck.
Thank you. Thank you. It's,
Hey, there's September 11th, 8 o'clock over at the new Senior Central building. I think it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. September 11th. There's a rare opportunity for the citizens of Eau Claire, those burdened with heavy tax burdens, to change our special assessment policy in the city of Eau Claire. It hasn't been drastically changed since 1953. They've toyed with it a little bit, as everybody knows, but you should encourage your listeners to go over and participate in this public hearing.
it's being put on by our benevolent city council, or what?
Yeah, the city council that's controlled and manipulated by the city staff. That's the one, Chuck. That's the city council.
Well, them birds clipped me for about $4,000 on about 100 feet of frontage up on the north side with one of their wild schemes about building sidewalks to nowhere.
Yeah.
And they sure did. They built a sidewalk right into the side of the hill up there. There's nowhere for it to go. But they hit me up for $4,000 because of their grandiose schemes and their idiocracies.
Yeah. This is a chance, although it's unlikely, but the special assessments should be paid out of the general fund so no one taxpayer is burdened.
Well, that's precisely. That's the only fair way to do it, to spread
Absolutely.
it. Everybody within the city limits uses the streets and the sidewalks and the lights.
That's right.
I don't care who you are, you use them. So why should some bird up on a cul-de-sac pay $10,000 while somebody else that's just living in town for 4 years, go to school, doesn't pay a dime?
That's exactly right.
Because they're renting or whatever.
Yep.
I think, and they'll still get off the hook, but at least the real estate, the people that own the property of the city will get a fair shake. Now, there's 500 pieces of property that are not on the tax rolls.
Yeah, that's right. There's more than a third of all property in the city is exempt from property.
Right. And now them birds need to get off that nonprofit bandwagon too. Those nonprofit agencies, whether they be churches or the federal government or the state government or city buildings or whatever, they got to pay their fair share too, because people come and go from them buildings. They use the roads to get to those buildings. They use the sidewalks to walk up to those churches. And this is not a deal about separation of church and state. This is about having equality for the sidewalks and the streets for everybody, and letting it be spread around. It's not taxation without representation.
Yeah, I think that some of those tax-exempt properties are paying special assessments. I think. I'm not sure.
Well, they can continue to do it, but there's 500 pieces of property that are not paying their fair share when it comes to fixing the roads and the sidewalks.
Yeah. Well, this public hearing is important if you can encourage your listeners to go out and participate. The sad thing is that the likelihood is the scenario will be like this. The city staff will make a recommendation to the city council to maintain the status quo. Keep the special assessment policy in place, of course, which stinks to the core, but that's probably what will happen. And all those spineless little wimps on the city council will say, yes, we think we should take the staff recommendation and keep the special assessment policy in force. But this is an opportunity. It's a red button issue. It would be good if people would go and suggest that it is all special assessments are paid for out of the general revenue fund.
Well, that's the only fair and decent way.
Absolutely.
If a city is going to grow and grow together and be equal and everybody feel a part of it, then why hit up somebody that's making $15,000 a year? Why hit them up for $10,000 assessment?
Yeah.
And then go down the street the next year and hit up some other poor working Joe Sixpack down there a couple blocks away the next year, and then a couple blocks away the next year. They could get a heck of a lot more built and a lot more road work done if they spread it out fairly and evenly and took it out of the general fund.
That's right. Remember,
I would rather pay I'd rather pay a couple pennies more a year on my real estate.
That's right.
And then to have to kick out $4,000 because of some idiot some engineer down there at City Hall that hasn't taken vitamins for 20 years and he's brain dead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Remember, it's a disproportionate, unfairly assessed tax, and it's just another tax, regardless of what they say. It's just another tax.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
And everybody in the last 3 years that's got stuck, there's still a chance for you if you've got those payments spread out over 8 or 10 years. They'll have to prorate that and pay you back.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know how they'll handle that.
Yeah, I talked to one of the city council members, and they said it would be prorated, and they would have to be given back that money.
Oh, that'd be terrific.
Because otherwise it'd be discrimination against those who got ripped off by this present council.
Yeah. Well, encourage
Well, you
your
sound like a very intelligent person. Maybe you should run for City Hall. We need more good people like you on there.
Yeah, that's right.
And, we do appreciate your input. And now, can you tell us again what time this is and where it's at?
You know, I think it's either 7 or 8 o'clock, for sure on September 11th, and over at the new Senior Central building at Madison and Bellinger Street in Eau Claire.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
That's in the brand new Senior Citizen Center.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Of course, you can see, I mean, I haven't been able to get a decent haircut for 6 years. I have to have special people come in and mold it into this here just to get my hat on because I can't pay my taxes anymore.
Yeah, and the coloring is superb. It looks good. Fred, take care of yourself.
Okay.
See you later. Good luck.
All right.
Bye now.
Thanks for calling in there. Well, we need more good, intelligent people like that. You know, since Lorraine Lee hung up her spurs, there ain't too many cowboys out and cowgirls out there that are willing to tell the truth, Fred, on the old cow report. And we encourage you cowgirls and cowboys to call in and speak your mind on the old cow report, right here on the old cow phone. Old Bessie here, the cow phone.
Yes.
And Freddie?
Yes.
Have you got another short and sweet paragraph there that we can digest?
It'll be shorter than one that you read from. The Wanderer on September 11th. What is a Family Worth? By Patrick J. Buchanan. There was a man who would have made a damn good president. How conservative is North Carolina? Said a friend who moved there. Down here, Jesse Helm is our liberal senator. The North Carolina recently added to its 24-carat reputation as Almac County just ordered million paid to a jilted wife by the woman who stole her husband. And Dorothy Hammer Hadelmeyer, age 40, contended in court that her husband was enticed into an affair by his secretary who began wearing short skirts and joining them on business trips. This year, her husband divorced her, and after 19 years of marriage and 3 children, to marry his secretary, mistress.
What were they up to?
Well,
what's the gist of the story?
The woman who married her husband sued and won she got a
judgment.
Yeah, judgment.
Huh. Well, that goes to show you, Fred. Shows you the kind of trouble you get in when you get married. Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yo, Chuck, what's up? Just got a quick question here.
All right.
Earlier in the show, you asked why the schools should spend $40 million on computers when they're just going to be obsolete pretty soon.
No, they're building a lot of bricks and mortar here. Computers are just a small part of it. Besides that, the computers that they buy will be obsolete within a couple of years. So go ahead.
So what should they do? Just kind of not do anything about it? Wait till what's going on there?
That's right. You know, the school-age population is declining in the state of Wisconsin. I think the latest report was 6% decline We don't need to be building all these brand new schools that are going to be empty in 20 years.
And what is the name of that show that's on before yours?
The Communist.
And you asked him why doesn't he get into the present time, the future? Yet you want to stay in the past with the schools?
Hey,
What's going on here?
the schools are right out there right now. There's several thousand kids going to school.
I don't know about that.
Went to school today, right? You think a bricks and mortar is going to make a kid smarter?
Well, I don't know, but that penis on your head is going to make...
Okay there, Freddie Boy. Here's some of the things they're doing. They're going to replace Boyd and Park schools with one new school. So they're going to sell off the old Park and Boyd schools for probably $20,000 if they're lucky. And then they're going to spend $6 million on one new school. They're going to replace Cleghorn with new 3-section school, $5.5 million for that little burg out there called Cleghorn. It's got about 25 people in it in the middle of the summer with the tourists running around.
Got about 50 people at least.
Oh boy, so we're going to spend $5.5 million on 50 people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one. And then they're going to renovate the Little Red Elementary School, $600,000. They're going to add on to Putman Heights Elementary School, $1.3 million. Here's a joke, and I bet there's going to be some sweetheart deals on this one when it comes to subcontracting and giving the deals to all their buddies and all the parties and stuff that's going to go into wining and dining people to get these lovely little contracts that'll add up to $40 million. There's going to be some palms greased over this deal, Freddie. $40 million. There's going to be a lot of. You better get out there and get your Vaseline now, ladies and gentlemen, because there's going to be a lot of palms greased on this deal. Renovate and improve Memorial High School, $7.4 million, Freddie Boy. Renovate and improve North High School. Of course, you got this competition between North and South. So Memorial gets 7.3. Well, North's got to get almost that much, or it won't be fair. So North gets 6.7 million. Improve facilities for handicapped students in grades 6 through 8, 300,000. Construct an additional gym for DeLong Middle School, 865,000. Purchase some vacant land. Now here's going to be a real sweetheart deal. They've got some secret guy out there that they've already cut a deal with that owns some land, and they're going to give him $1 million for the land to build, just to have it sit there for a third high school site.
Yeah.
$1 million, Fred. Now isn't that?
Yes.
If that ain't some kind of crooked deal, I don't know what is. Why would they have to pay $1 million for some vacant land out on the edges of Eau Claire?
I don't know.
I don't either. If they went out 5 miles, they could probably buy. Maybe for $1 million, you should be able to buy 5,000 to 10,000 acres.
Yeah.
They're going to buy a handful of acres here for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a crooked, rotten sweetheart deal here.
Yes.
And so out of this $40 million for that last caller that was probably educated in one of these rotten schools, they're going to spend $9.3 million on improving technological access for students. So $41 million is going to be going for more bricks and mortars for an aging school population that's declining, and which is obsolete. And $9 million is going to go for what they actually need, the computers. Now, why don't you take the $9 million worth of computers and stick them in North High School and South High School, close down all the other schools in town, and just do it the technological 21st century way, with the web and with all the exciting technology of the internet and the electronic schools and stuff. But no, they want to get it tied up in bricks and mortars because they got a whole bunch of sweetheart deals already cut. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, you, the taxpayer, are being ripped off. And a few more straws are being put on your back.
Right.
Because you are the the tax, what is that, Fred? The tax donkey.
Yeah.
One more straw on the camel's back. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, yeah, I just got a quick comment about what you said about 10 minutes ago. I'm a pretty successful businessman here the last 4 years, and my partner, I am a gay man, and my partner is also very successful. I just wanted you to make a comment on how you stereotype gay people in the area and why you're so prejudicial to them. I'm going to hang up and have you...
God said, thou shalt not lie with a man or with another woman. That's what God said.
Yeah, He wasn't talking about...
I agree with God.
Well, Freddie, you know, Princess Di is dead now and buried, and she has to go before her maker, but a lot of these famous people, it's easy to take the course of least resistance and float downstream.
Yes.
Why didn't she walk out in that stream and stand against the current and speak up and tell the homosexual men and women that she knows? Why didn't she stand up and tell them to quit that behavior, and maybe you wouldn't get that disease?
Yeah.
Or not only AIDS, but any sexually transmitted disease.
Right.
But instead she took the least resistance and helped raise funds for the hospices for them dying.
Yes.
But how many of them did she actually tell abstinence is the best way until marriage? And then when you get married, it's one man and one woman. That's standing against the current and
Yes.
taking a stand.
Right.
And then Elton John sang at her funeral.
Yes.
The first time he sang the song, it was about a dead woman named Marilyn Monroe, and
Yes.
he changed the words to that. I guess he made a comment a few years ago that somebody asked him how far he would go with sex, and he said he drew the line at goats. In other words, he'd have sex with anything but goats.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that was on the worldwide TV, people viewing him worldwide,
Yes.
singing his song for Princess Di. And of course, she was deader than a doornail the night that she died in that tunnel. There's nothing they can do or say her now. Her body is gone, and so is her soul.
Yes.
And that's what the devil does, Fred. He waits around the corner with a big fly swatter, and you're done.
Right.
So you better be ready.
Yes.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, do you have something against our children in education?
Oh, is this going to be some sob story about how we're not spending enough money on the students?
Hey,
Do you know, young lady, that the school system has doubled their budget in 10 years? Are your students twice as smart as they were 10 years ago? Give me a break.
Yes.
Students are not being starved for money in this area. If the liberation theologists can double the budget in 10 years, nobody's hurting for educational dollars in this area.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, hey Chuck, how you doing? Listen, I was wondering here, I'm going to be a future teacher here. I'm just wondering where you want this $41 million to go. If it's not towards education, if it's not towards getting, our kids smarter so we have a little bit better country and we're not losing out to the Japanese every year in education, where do you want this money to go? I don't get it. I mean, does it need to stay in your pocket?
Where do we want the money to go? We want socialists like you to keep out of our pockets, and the money doesn't have to go anywhere. It doesn't have to be generated to begin with. It doesn't need to go anywhere. It doesn't need to even start from anywhere. Just leave it in the citizens' pockets and quit taxing them to death, and quit taxing people like Freddie out of his home year after year. Leave it in their pockets instead of some pie-in-the-sky dreams about $40 million worth of edifices with people's names on them. And we got plenty of schools. Education is being spent very liberally in this city.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, for those union teachers out there that are starting at $25,000 a year right out of college, you're only working about 8 months. That's over $3,000 a month. You don't think you can live on that? If you can't, get your lazy ass out there and paint some houses in the summer. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. But you're talking about the education and monopolists that the school system had. When are they going to give the individual a choice of where they want to send their kids to school and make them pay themselves as individuals?
Well, that's right. There's a couple of fine Catholic private schools in town here. There's several Protestant Christian schools in town here that are doing some fine educating, Fred. As a matter of fact, this year's National Spelling Bee champion was a homeschool child, 13 years old. And that Catholic family out there is making $20,000 a year, Fred, and they want their kid to have a decent education. They don't want to send them to their rotten public schools.
Right.
They want them in a Catholic education where they can get a decent education. They've got to pay twice.
Right.
They got to pay to the public school,
Correct.
the public school cesspool, the never-ending black hole that we have to throw tax dollars in every year, and then they have to pay for a decent education again when they put their kid in a private school, so they can get a decent and safe education. Now, is that fair, Freddie? I ask you.
No.
You've been around for about 30, 35 years. Is that fair for everybody?
I've been around longer than that.
I know. You've been on this show longer than that.
Yeah.
You've been around longer than my hair.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, I just heard your show a little bit ago, Chuck. I was wondering if that report you had in front of you dealing with where money was allocated for the school systems in Eau Claire talked at all about maybe where and who was going to do the rebuilding for the schools. Is there people bidding in the area for those jobs?
Well, I'm sure they've had some cocktail parties and private meetings, and they've cut their deals. And
So it's not going to be an outside party that builds these.
Well, somebody's going to have to bid on all this stuff.
Well, do you see that as maybe helping our economy in the area, maybe stimulating the economy and helping out tax?
Maybe for a year.
A year?
Year or two.
Okay. Do you recommend maybe that we don't pay taxes and don't do these additions and rebuilding of schools and other areas in the area, and maybe just let the economy here stagnate?
Listen, Junior, get out of my pocket. If you want to build an addition to Boyd or Park School, why don't you get down there and tear down Boyd and Park School and get all your socialist school teacher buddies and all your friends together and work on weekends and pool your resources and take the money out of your pocket. Just stay out of my pocket. And people that feel the same way as I do, that don't want to keep paying in to your socialist system that teaches how to be a good homosexual and the proper way of putting a condom on a banana. If that's the kind of education you want, then you build the buildings with your money and quit robbing it from the taxpayers.
Yes.
And what do you have to say about that, Fred?
I agree.
All right. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Fred and Chuck, I just wanted to comment a little bit on the people calling in, criticizing you people for being concerned about tax dollars. They don't understand the bureaucracy that's been created with all of these new buildings that will be around for 100 years to maintain, increasing costs. Why don't they understand that?
It's not in bricks and mortars anymore.
Well, it's the school board. They're a taxing entity. They have the right to levy taxes. Why should they have a controlling market share of education,
right,
capturing tax dollars from parents who may want to send their children to private schools
and then
half the cost?
And then forcing those children to be indoctrinated into their poisonous ideas.
Right, they've moved social services into the school system. It's completely taken over the school system. It's over $7,000 per student, or is it $6,000 per student in Eau Claire, in the Eau Claire School District, to educate a student. Yet more than 72 cents on the dollar goes to wages, benefits, and salaries for these teachers. It is absolutely ludicrous. It's not going to stop. I don't know why they can't understand that each parent should be able to control the tax dollars that they're forced to pay into the public school system. Give the parents a choice. It's simple. I don't know whether they're dreaming up this stuff.
Well, I say liberate the public school systems and allow homeschoolers or groups of homeschoolers to come into the school system and use those fancy swimming pools and use them fancy chemistry classes and use all that fancy equipment and everything that goes along with the high-priced schooling, but allow these individuals to have their own Christian teachers. But let them come in and use those buildings when they're not being used by the socialists during the day.
Sure, the public school system should have...
It's paid by everybody.
Sure, but the public school system should have to compete for the tax dollars from parents. It's
Right.
Control.
$7,000 per student. I would rather take the $7,000 and I could probably hire a pretty fancy tutor to teach my child.
Exactly.
And probably have them 3 years ahead of a kid the same age.
You were talking about that Saturday election coming up. There is going to be a huge influx of teachers and union people to go out and support that referendum.
Yeah, it's on October 4th.
Sure.
I hope you idiots out there wake up, or you're going.
They won't, and I'll bet the biggest percentage of voters are going to be people tied to the school system. It's just like it was a few years ago.
Right ago.
They'll get this referendum passed, and it's just another permanent burden on the taxpayers.
You know, Roy, Fred, this guy should have been a preacher. He's got some good common sense stuff there.
Isn't that John?
Well, we don't want to give any names on the air, but he's a pretty good speaker and he knows his facts.
Yeah.
But they got to stand up. You got to stand up out there and speak your mind. We stopped that stupid arena and those pipe dreams, those people down there smoking opium on the river there, and then having pipe dreams about building great big white cow elephants on the river. Now we got them raising their ugly head again.
You have that person call in and say, Chuck, where should we spend the money?
We don't have to spend it at all.
Right, they shouldn't be stealing that from the taxpayers in the first place.
That's right. It's just $30 here and $70 there. Oh, you're only going to have to pay it for 25 years, and that's on top of the 60% of the tax bill we're already stealing from you.
That's right.
The school system's already taken about 60% of your taxes on that property you're paying that $2,000 on. The school system's getting about $1,400 of it now.
That's exactly right. But those people that call in and criticize you, they're directly or indirectly connected with either a labor union, the teachers union, or part of the school administration. They're creating a bureaucracy we cannot afford any longer.
Well, it's always been a fact in Wisconsin. When nothing else works, take some children and dangle them in front of the camera and say, "We've got to do it for the children."
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, good luck.
All right, well, thanks a lot
Bye
there,
now.
caller. It's good educated people like that, Fred.
Yes.
We need more of in this city. You know what?
Yes.
There's been so much boondogglery issues going on in this area.
Yes.
It's one thing after another, Fred. They just keep piling on. They figure, well, if we keep throwing them one thing after another, eventually one of them's going to have to slip through because they'll get weary and quit fighting us.
Yes.
And that's how the socialists operate. The socialists are just slow communists, Fred.
Yes.
And you're an expert on communism. I know you are. You've been studying it since the 40s.
Yeah.
And isn't that how it is?
Yes, it's true.
Most socialist countries usually end up communists?
Yeah.
Or most socialists are actually closet communists?
Yes.
Okay, we better take another call here, Freddie boy.
And we got another one here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi to Fred because he really makes this show. But I just wondered where his hands are all the time.
What?
Where his hands are all the time because he's always smiling.
Well, it's all right.
What?
There they are.
Yeah.
There he is.
What are you doing?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, Fred, here's one. In Modesto, California, Stephen Richard King was arrested for trying to hold up a Bank of America branch without a weapon. King used a thumb and a finger to simulate a gun, but unfortunately failed to keep his hand in his pocket. Now, isn't that just like the school system here, Fred, the school board trying to rip us off for $40 million? Well, we're trying to expose them because they're bluffing, ladies and gentlemen. They got it like this, and they got it up to your head and saying, give us more of your tax dollars. But what we're going to do is we're going to rip the mask off of them. We're going to show you that all it is a thumb and a finger. And all they're doing is ripping you off once again.
Yes.
And what you need to do is take your finger and go down there on Election Day, October 4th, and push the big old fat no button. And send them a big old fat message down there at the socialist school system down there with the $100,000 fat cats sitting in there playing golf in their office and drinking their hottie toddies. Send them a message that we're not going to give you any more, you fat ass. Go get a real job. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, I was just wondering, because you said that about the tax dollars, and I agree with what you're saying. So I was just wondering if we should start a petition, but I realize now it's a voting thing, right?
Well, it's they've slipped up on us. They waited here now. It's less than a month away, and they did this on purpose because they've got their forces together. They're going around giving speeches. They're going to spend.
Who's giving speeches?
They're going to spend several $1,000s on these ads. I don't know if Roy can get a closer up ad, but this is
Who's doing it?
This is it's a group called Vote Yes for Our Children's Educational Needs. Let's dangle the children in front of you, and you'll give us anything we want. Anyway, it's called the Yes Group. It's for our children's educational needs. Vote October 4th. Authorized and paid for by Youth Education Support Committee. Charles Gross-Klaas, treasurer. And these are the bums.
Elected official then in there?
Well, they're going to be spending several $1,000s on ads like this, and the ads will get bigger. And of course, probably the night before the election, they'll have the big full-page ad with all the people's names on it that are going to directly benefit from this $40 million boondoggle. Those will all be neatly in rows, so you can look through and see if one of your buddies is on the list. And then you'll say to yourself, duh, Johnny Johnson's got his name on there, I better go vote yes. If Johnny's going to vote, if Johnny's going to vote yes. Yeah, if Johnny's going to vote yes, I better.
And keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much, and be vigilant and tell your neighbors if they want to stop getting taxed to death and they want to have a few bucks in their own pockets, so maybe they can do something on a weekend, or maybe they can go out to a movie or something. Then you're going to have to stand up and fight these bums, because they're coming back at you year after year with some new scheme. They've been doing it for 30 years, ever since Lyndon Johnson came up with the Great Society boondoggles. They've been doing this since 1963, 34 years. Kennedy started it, and then he died before he could implement it, but in his memory and because of the sadness, the nation started pouring billions of dollars into fighting poverty and into helping education. And we got some of the rottenest schools in the world right here in the United States. And we've got some of the worst poverty in the world. We've got some Warsaw ghettos all over this country, because we've just grouped together thousands and thousands of blacks and other poor whites, and we put them into these plantations. We call them welfare plantations, these high rises like Cabrini Greens in Chicago, and they're in Detroit. They're in every major city in the country. Those kids aren't getting an education. The worst thing that the socialists fear out there is somebody like J.C. Watts, Fred, a black man that isn't that they can't stereotype into some poor person that is going to have to be on welfare for not only his generation but 3 other generations because of slavery 150 years ago. And there it is, folks. It's been dangle the kids in front of us, dangle the minorities in front of us. Just give us us $100 billion here, give us $700 billion here, give us $40 million here on October 4th, and we'll make it right for you. We'll fix everything. Just keep giving us more money, and we can do anything. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hello. I'd just like to say I agree 100% with you guys on the education issue, but I'm gay, and the whole reason I've been watching this show is because I thought you and Fred were gay. I'm just wondering what's going on there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. You can tell the students are back in town, Freddie boy. All right. What do you got there, Freddie?
Senator Lotbeck's National Endowment of the Humanities nominee. Although the taxpayer-financed National Endowment for the Humanities awarded a grant for a production of a 4-part investigative film on Jesus Christ, Republican Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott has endorsed a new Clinton nominee to head the NEH, William Ferris, a fellow Mississippian.
Huh.
And
so, what do you think about Trent Lott personally?
That turns my stomach. I oppose them.
Yeah? Well, I'll tell you, Freddie. Here's one for you. Here's the diet tip of the week for you ladies and gentlemen out there that eat squirrels on a regular basis. Don't eat squirrel brains. The Lancet Medical Journal reports a link between human consumption of squirrel brains and a variant of mad cow disease. So it's not only the cows that have been taking a bad rap here, Fred. Now they're blaming the squirrels for things too. And here's another one, Fred. Another day, another Elvis sighting. Officials at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Los Angeles reported that a pair of the King's underwear, valued at $1,300, disappeared on August 17th, the 20th anniversary of his death. A museum spokesman characterized the thief as choosy because a pair of Madonna's underwear were untouched. Mm-hmm. So there you have it, Fred. All right there, Roy. What's going on out there in the old Netherland out there? Of course, I'm speaking about Roy Rogers Hoff. On one side of his family, he was raised by iguanas in northern New Mexico, in the mountains. And I'll tell you, it was a rough life. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Just back to the tax issue, I heard you speaking. I just want to make a statement. I feel that we're lucky to live where we do. Eau Claire's a nice place to live. Oh, come now. Let's look around. We can live in a lot of other places that are a lot worse off than we are. Eau Claire's a good place to live. It's a pretty town. People are nice here. We were talking before, there are slums out there in other parts of the country, but we live in Eau Claire. We should be concerned with our situation here in our community.
What situation might that be?
Well, you were talking about taxes. I do believe that, allocation tax could be a little off kilter. You saw State Street be redone. The streets weren't that bad to begin with. At the same time, I don't feel just because we do live in a nice neighborhood, a nice city, that we should be, just consider ourselves, lucky enough to be where we are, and not that we should further our situation. With taxes, I don't think it's a socialist view to use taxes. I don't think that's where socialism is based. But at the same time, I'm going to ask you, Chuck, if you're familiar with Joe McCarthy.
Who?
Joseph McCarthy. McCarthyism?
Right, he's a good man.
Fred knew him personally.
Yes.
Oh, come now, McCarthy.
That was a good man. We need more McCarthys.
Oh, he was a man like Chuck who pointed...
Yes, he's a damn good one, too.
That's right, Fred. You tell him. He was a United States Senator from none other than the state of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, that's right.
Well, I'm glad to see you're coming to life again, Fred. It's been a long time there. You just can take so much from all of these heathens out there, Fred. Well, here, while we're waiting on our next lovely caller, a tourist at North Carolina's beach died after the 8-foot hole he had dug in the sand collapsed on top of him. Daniel Jones was sitting in a beach chair at the bottom of the hole when the walls caved in. Ain't that something, Fred?
Yeah.
Right there by the beach, you think you would know better there. Sand has a tendency to collapse around you. Okay there, Roy. 2 heads are better than 1. That's what I've always said. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hi there. How you doing tonight?
Fine.
Pretty good special effects there. I know my folks are probably watching. Chuck, I had a comment about I think public schools are making some inroads with freedom of speech and Christianity, where groups are being allowed to meet now, eat to a bowl and things like that. And I think I could learn something from Fred about hats.
Well, I'll tell you, if they would quit taking all my taxes, I could get a decent haircut in this town.
One more thing I'd like to comment on is the city bus system, which has not been promoted too much, now going on till 10 o'clock at night, which is a really wonderful thing for a lot of people. The city council doesn't seem to be promoting that much. And is there anything going on behind the scenes we should know about the Civic Center we don't want that might get pushed down our throat?
Well, speaking of that bus system first there, Freddie's going to be learning how to ride the bus around town now. He's kind of given up on driving for a few months anyway, and in the meantime he wants to be able to travel around town, and I guess they had a little contract with the college students to get them to ride more, so hopefully they'll make it work. They've got to get rid of some more of those big old 1950 dinosaur buses they got running around town and that are polluting the air with all their diesel fuel or whatever they're using there, and get more to a leaner, meaner system with smaller buses and just having the routes where they pay for themselves and not all these routes where you see them driving around town and the bus driver's got flies buzzing around his head and both of his eyes are shut and he's just kind of going like this, and the same old lady in the back there with the curlers in her hair has been on the bus with him for 4 hours, and they're just kind of going around in the twilight zone of Eau Claire there, and they're not picking up anybody. We got to get rid of those routes.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Fred? Okay, Freddie, a $2 billion B-2 stealth bomber is the most advanced aircraft in the world. Just don't get it wet. According to recent Air Force tests, the B-2 loses much of its ability to evade radar detection when exposed to such severe climatic conditions as water and humidity. In other words, when it rains. And that's after only spending $2 billion on each one of them, Fred.
Yes.
All right, we better take another call here, Freddie. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I was just wondering, do you guys ever get out, or do you just sit there all day? Because it seems like you guys are pretty uninformed about the issues. I mean,
Well, we know about the issues, and we...
well, Fred, do you know that?
Yes, well, we know about the issues, and we don't need anybody to call us in and tell us we don't know.
No, Joseph McCarthy, he was a closet homosexual.
He was a good man.
And you know, besides that, Fred, I was out of this room once in 1953, and I saw everything that's going on. And I came right back in here because my public needed me to be on the air 24 hours a day. And that's where we've been since 1943, right here on the air doing our part for God and country.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi there. I first got two things here to say. I had heard through the grapevine that Fred wasn't feeling too well. Fred,
Yes.
you feeling okay today?
I'm all right now.
All right, good to hear. Secondly, I just turned on here, and I think it's a great idea about when we need more money that we just give the government more money so they can do more stuff for us. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Hey, where's my Flavin Pop at?
I don't know.
I'll tell you, every time you turn around, no wonder Fred's so excited tonight. He downed that whole bottle before the show started. All right. And you know, Fred, that does work double as a fuel additive. And
Yeah, that does, doesn't it?
I seen one guy pour it in his swimming pool
Yes,
there to help get rid of germs.
And they killed all the germs in there. Also killed him.
Okay, Fred, J.Z. Knight, a psychic channel for a 30,000-year-old spirit named Ramtha, has successfully sued a Berlin woman in the Austrian Supreme Court for channeling the same spirit and leaving Knight in spiritual limbo. In other words, they're fighting over the same spirit there.
Yes.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Chuck. My name is Steve. I've been watching you and Fred for the past 2 years, and it never amazes me to hear some of the things you guys say. You always have such great views on things.
Well, thank you. Somebody's got to tell the truth out there.
Well, yeah, that's all right. I'm a student. I was just wanted to comment on the homosexual call earlier, and I was wondering how you feel about homosexuals.
Well, I'll tell you, they've got a right to eat and breathe, but they don't have a right to get special rights in this country. They have rights under the Constitution, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but that's where it ends. And their rights end at my front door and also at Freddie Boy's. And I don't appreciate them getting into the schools and brainwashing from kindergarten on up, trying to teach people that it's a right lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle, it's a death style. I've been saying that on here for many years now. It's not a lifestyle, it's a death style. Go ahead, you're on the air, caller.
Good afternoon, Chuck.
Hello.
How you doing this evening, sir?
Fine.
Good. You do have some good points and some bad points. Can I ask you, sir, honestly, what is up with the hat?
Well, I've worn many hats in my life, and so has Freddie Boy.
Yeah.
And this is the one I'm wearing tonight because it seemed to be the most appropriate. And since it's getting a little chillier out now, I needed something that would be more appropriate and cover the ears during the cold evenings that we are dealing with right now. Okay, here's another one, Freddie Boy. We're running out of time here. Police in Alexandria, Egypt have arrested a head nurse who said she just wanted to enjoy some peace and quiet during her work hours. Ada Nur Eden is charged with killing at least 18 hospital patients with sleeping pills. And a man in Hoover, Alabama is suing a McDonald's restaurant after claiming that he found a condom in his Big Mac. Jeff Bowling says he became violently ill when he realized that the extra chewy part wasn't a pickle. Go ahead, caller. You're the last call of the evening.
Hey, Chuck, how are you?
Fine. How you doing?
Calling about the You all right? Calling about the school referendum here. I'm worried about this Saturday, October 4th thing, and I think it's good to point out for people possibly that have plans and everything else on the 4th, because, of course, what they really want us to be is gone.
Right.
On October 4th. Absentee ballots are available. All you have to do is call City Hall.
But I tell you, without the United Nations observers watching those absentee ballots, you got to watch whose fingers gets in them.
Well,
what they need to do is take those absentee ballots and put them in a glass case and have them observable to the public 24 hours a day between now and the election. Have them in a locked case inside of, say, City Hall there with a window facing the street so that they can be observed, so that somebody can't get in there and, whoops, change a no to a yes.
Well, for the group here in town that I'm involved with, Citizens for Responsible Government Spending, we're also spending money, and we're also going to get more information out for the other side of the story.
Well, we're almost off the air. Quickly give a phone number somewhere where people can get a hold of you and get involved.
Dennis Berry, 831-1718. Give me a call.
831-1718. Thanks a lot, Dennis. And
Thanks, Chuck.
keep up the good fight.
Bye.
All right, there. Well, Freddie boy, another Cow Report has come to the end of the trail, and we're glad that you tuned in tonight, and we're glad to see that there still are viewers out there that agree with us. And of course, we take, as you know, we're taking live calls here. And thanks to the governor for watching tonight, and we appreciate all his hard work down there in Madison. We'll see you again right here on the old Cow Report next time. Adios, amigos and amigas.